moments ago, I finished watching the first episode of a new show that I'm starting with my wife. It's called From. It's like a horror mystery or something. I don't know anything about it, so please no spoilers. I literally just finished the first episode. But I wanted to talk about it because in that episode, there's a Chinese man and seemingly portrayed as an immigrant because he is speaking Chinese here and there, and his English is kind of basic. But he's playing chess. He's playing chess against somebody, and they comment that he's really good at chess. But I just thought, oh man, this could have been a perfect scene to introduce Go, right? It could have been Go. Yeah, it's not even Chinese chess. It's not like, I mean, it wouldn't make sense if it was shogi, I guess, considering that he's Chinese. But I thought, oh man, what a missed opportunity. Too bad for Go players. We don't get representation in this show where the opportunity was perfect. It's like they're rubbing it in our faces. It's like, oh, look at this guy. He's from China and he plays chess. He doesn't play Go. You're listening to Starpoint, the show about Go for Go fans away from the board. And I have to start with the bad news this week. And it's touching that some of you consider this bad news, but this is the last episode of Season 3. And Season 4 will return on September 14th. Should be a Monday. That's around 8 weeks' time. And again, I'm very touched whenever somebody is disappointed that I'll be taking a break. I feel kind of bad for doing it because I know some of you really count on the show to fill your brain with Go thoughts. I guess that's what I'm doing. But don't worry, I'll come back. And I hope you guys maybe take this time to play some Go. I will try to play some actual live Go over the summer. And I'll see you then. And I just want to say right now, it's been a pleasure doing this show for you guys, hearing from all of you, and I really appreciate every single one of you. Even if you don't comment or write into listener mail or never have, just you being there, listening to the show, and just taking up your ear space with Starpoint. That's enough for me to really appreciate that maybe this is something a little worth doing. Okay, so for this episode, I wanted to kind of talk about something that I have been thinking about lately. Another show that I've been watching with my wife is Survivor. I'm a huge Survivor fan. I have not like hardcore, I haven't seen every season or anything like that. But I really enjoyed this last season. It was season 50, if any of you are Survivor people. But one thing you notice about Survivor is that all the people on the show, they have an intense desire to win. Maybe they cast competitive people on purpose. Maybe strong personalities tend to be competitive. I don't know. Or maybe it's the $1 million on the line, shrug, who knows, that is causing everybody to have such an intense desire to win. But I always tell my wife when she says I should go on Survivor, that I would, first of all, they would cut me in the first round of casting because they would probably ask me something like, so why do you want to win Survivor? Why do you want to be the next sole survivor? And I would probably say something like, I don't have that much of an interest in doing that. I'm here because I want to play some games and have fun. And they'd be like, all right, you're gone. You're gone. If you don't want to play to win, you're gone. Right. And among other things. Right. And not just that, but I just would not be good for casting. I would really enjoy playing. The game aspect of it is really fun to me. I'm usually not someone who likes like that social voting out type of mechanic, but I think I could find it enjoyable nonetheless. I'm usually more interested in the physical challenges and the puzzles and all that stuff. That's my jam. But this kind of stuff gets me thinking like, well, I think there is something to be said about wanting to win. If you might consider this episode of Starpoint to be like a sequel to The Importance of Winning. That's an early episode of Starpoint, if you remember. I think about that episode sometimes because I feel like that is it's a compelling thought to think about how important it is to win a game and what that means for the game and how you create an identity for yourself through winning. In Go, I mean, of course, everybody wants to win, right? But I think everybody has different levels of that desire. I personally have found myself not wanting to win that very much a lot of the time when I play Go. I've seen a lot of players shy away from the desire to win. They kind of try to let go of that desire so that maybe they can improve. Maybe it's like you're trying to let go of this desire to win in order to win. Doesn't that mean you really want to win? I don't know. It's an interesting topic, and I want to talk a little bit about this from a few different angles. One of the angles that I want to kind of discuss this desire to win thing is just life in general. Sometimes I look around at the world we live in, and I appreciate nature, and I appreciate the trees and the birds and other people walking around, and you wonder, like, how did all this happen, right? And one answer that you could maybe posit is the desire to live and not die, right? That's kind of at the foundation of why things are alive, because we have this desire to live and not die. And you could explain human civilization this way, in a way, right? Like, I'm doing this podcast, and I'm sitting on a chair with a microphone that was built by people, and there's all this stuff that doesn't seem like you need to, it's not necessary to live, but it kind of goes down to it, right? Like, you have this microphone that was constructed by a company who is trying to make a living, make money so that they can, feed their employees and live, right? They're kind of, you follow that chain of reasoning all the way down. And a lot of the world can be explained by, we want to live and not die. And I think, well, that's such a Go thing to say, right? To want to live and not die. That's such a big theme in Go. And if you zoom out a bit, there is a meta theme to it, right? To actually want to win and not lose. That's like, to live and not die on the board is like a subset of to win and not lose in the entire game. So I think there's maybe some compelling argument somewhere in there to say that, well, maybe all the good stuff on the extremities that you can't really connect to the desire to win, like the life and death, the difficult life and death problems that you might originally kind of treat as like, oh, I want to solve this life and death problem because I want to be true to this game. I don't know. But maybe some of you feel like you solve problems intensely and feel very deeply connected to your desire to win. I think there is something to be said here about like people wanting to win and that being the cause of their success, is basically what I'm trying to say here. If you look at certain athletes and competitors, this has kind of been well documented. You look at someone like Kobe Bryant, right? He's very, very famous for just, his Mamba mentality and all that. I'm not a basketball person. Like, I mean, I like basketball, and I kind of I'm adjacent to the culture, so I hear things, but I'm a hockey guy, right? Even then, I've never been like a huge sports guy. Hockey I got into a few years ago. But anyway, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, these people, if you look at their personalities, they're not just, I want to be good so I can show up for my team. I want to be good to respect the game of basketball. They're just like, there's no other option. We have to win. I have to win. There's no other option. And it's just a single, one-dimensional kind of just dartboard straight into the bullseye, kind of like, I got to win. I'm better than everybody else. I got to prove that I'm better than everybody else, and I'm dominant in this game. And it's just like this, like, you kind of question, like, why are you so intense about that, right? Why are you so intense about wanting to win and show everybody you're so good? You could kind of ask the same question about life, like, why is this why is this gazelle running for its life? So, just lay over, let the lion come and eat you, right? What's the big deal? You're just a gazelle. Like, how many thoughts in your brain can you have that would want you to like keep living? And it's like you don't really ask that question. You're just like, everybody alive kind of has an agreement like, yeah, let's try not die, right? So I feel like there's kind of a connection there. And then if we just move beyond basketball, there's also Magnus Carlsen, who I remember famously saying, I never got better at losing. I just got better at winning, right? He was a bad loser. He admits to himself that he doesn't handle losses well. And he just has to win. And I think I just see this in like the top players of different disciplines everywhere. They just have to win. They're just like, I have to win. I really like winning. Tennis players, and this is like the prime example. It's like not even just the top players for tennis players. It's like every single competitive tennis player will like smash their racket at some point and throw a tantrum because they're losing, right? Like that's not just because they're immature and they don't know how to manage their emotions. It's because they committed that, want, right? They say they let themselves want to win, which is more difficult than you might expect. And I think the fear of wanting to win is characteristic of Go players. I certainly have experienced this, where I kind of don't want to let myself want to win. Because if I want to win and I really want to win, and then I let that desire grow within me, you set yourself up. You become vulnerable if you want something. You start hoping, right? We kind of put away that hope. We extinguish it and say, you know what? I'm going to lose or win depending on how I play, and I'm not going to feel one way or another about it. And that way my emotions are safe and I don't have to deal with like the disappointment of losing and things like that. But if you look at the really strong players, they don't do that. I'm sure some of them exist. I'm sure some of them are a little more level-headed in that, and some are more intense. But I think from what I've seen, and give me a counterpoint if you think I'm wrong about this, but I've seen the top competitors of fields, they just let their fire burn. And they say, I want to win. I am here to win it. Like the Survivor players, the ones that ruthlessly vote each other out and lie to each other and steal and cheat and whatever, right? Perhaps, I'm saying, excellence requires us to be so bold as to stoke the flame of desire, the desire to win. So let's say you're on board with me, right? Let's say I've been kind of muting that part of myself. I've not been wanting to win. I've been kind of letting myself off the hook, so to speak, right? I've actually been experiencing this in my games. I've noticed, right, when I make a move sometimes, it's difficult. It's like I feel like I'm losing. I feel like there's no good move. I feel like this move is very difficult. I feel like I can't do anything consequential. So I'm just going to play whatever. I'm not going to care that much about it. And if I catch myself doing that, I'm kind of thinking, well, wait, shouldn't I play to actually win the game instead of when I face a difficult part of the game, I kind of throw my hands up and say it's not in my control anymore? Well, I think if you're on board with me and you notice that about yourself, and you're also on board with this argument that maybe we do need to increase our desire to win in order to win, right? How do we do that? Or why would you want to do that? Well, I think first things first, the desire to win is innate, right? It's not something that you have to create for yourself. Just like the desire to live, right? And life is just, anything that's alive has come from a long line of evolution of things that were alive and fought to be alive. So you just have an innate desire to be alive. The innate desire to win, it's just there as well. If you look at young children and they start playing games, they quickly understand that they want to win and that winning is good. Once they get to that cognitive level, I don't know what the age would be. There's probably a specific milestone age where they understand the concept of winning and losing a game, right? Or they understand games in general. Even when nothing is on the line, even the youngest children understand that winning is better than losing and that winning feels good. Even when ego isn't even on the line, right? You kind of think like, oh yeah, we want to win so that we can prove to other people that we're better than them. we can feel superior to them. And that's like, obviously we want to get away from that kind of thinking for sure, right? Just because you won at something doesn't mean you're superior as a human being to them. But let's put that aside. Like, let's say that's just a theory. Like, oh yeah, I think people want to win because they want to prove to other people that they're good, that they're respectable, whatever. But even that aside, we want to win even when that isn't on the line. For example, rock, paper, scissors. You still want to win that. And maybe you might not want to win it as much as something that really proves your skill. But generally, people like winning rock, paper, scissors, no matter the circumstance. Or War. Have you ever played War, the card game? When I was growing up, that was one of the most popular games to play. You basically split a deck of cards into two, and then you flip over the top card, both of you, and the higher number gets to take both cards. And you do that again. And then the higher number takes both cards. And then you do that again. And you basically keep doing that until one person is holding the entire deck and the other person is left with like 5 cards in their hand. That's 100% deterministic and luck based. It doesn't prove anything. Like if I win at that game, doesn't mean I'm doing anything. You could make 2 computers play this game and it would be the same result, right? So it doesn't make sense that like our desire to win comes solely from wanting to prove something or having an ego, unless what you're trying to prove is that you're a luckier person, maybe. But we have this desire. We just all do. We have this desire in varying degrees. So I don't think we need to necessarily create that desire. I think we need to find that desire and nurture it in the right way. I think, like as I said, like you don't want to go the wrong way with it. But I think it could be valuable to stoke that flame, right? So how do we do that? How do we find reasons to want to win? Now, this is, I think, a little bit more difficult to really put your finger on, right? Can you search in your heart right now and think about playing a game of Go, or maybe you have a game of Go ongoing, and ask yourself, how badly do you want to win these games? I feel like I don't really want to win these games. I'm like, you know what happens. Like I have my level of skill. My opponent has their level of skill. And what happens. Like, and I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of Go players feel that way. I feel like, we've seen how futile it is to win against a strong player. We've seen how futile it is for a weaker player to win against a strong player. So we're just kind of like, you know what? Let's just let the game decide who the winner is, right? But maybe that's a little too far. Maybe that's not right. So how do you find that reason to want to win? Well, I can kind of try to think of a few ways. One is to respect the game. And I discussed this topic as well in a different episode of Starpoint, where I felt like I wasn't respecting the game. And it's kind of a related topic. If I really respected every game of Go, I would put more of myself and more effort into winning these games. I think maybe part of the problem is that I play correspondence games, and if you really try to commit yourself and put all of your effort into it, you would spend a day on a whole move, right? On one move. But I think you just kind of have to reel that in. Like for me, I maybe have to say like, okay, I don't have to like spend hours on one move to say that I respected this game, but I could do more than a minute, right, of thinking, right? I could do more than 30 seconds and just click and move on. I can actually assess the board and think about my strategy, and kind of give that respect to every stone. And that leads me to the next point, is that respecting the game involves respecting every stone. Perhaps you've heard other teachers and Go players talk about how you have to put your whole self into every single stone that you play, and there's no stone that is inconsequential. You can't be treating certain stones with importance and other stones without, right? Even though obviously there are very kind of degrees of importance throughout the game. Respecting the game kind of leads to respecting the opponent. If you want to stoke your desire to win, I think another place to start is to try to respect your opponent, right? And tell them like, hey, or not tell them out loud, but like in your head, hey, I'm going to give it my all, right? You better give it your all too, because we're going to play a great game of Go. And I'm not gonna make excuses. I'm not gonna like loosen my grip so that when I lose, I can blame that, right? I'm gonna actually try and be vulnerable and say that I gave it my all and then I lost, right? I'm opening myself up to that, and I'm gonna give you that part of myself for my game because you are spending time to play with me. I'm gonna give you 100% of myself, and because of that, that's why I'm going to win. I'm going to want to win, at least. On the other side of it, respecting yourself, right? Not like putting yourself down and saying, oh, I can't win anyway. It doesn't matter if I win. But to tell yourself, like, hey, if you put your mind to it, you can win this, or, and that I think is like a two-part thing with the opponent and yourself, where you should be respecting both sides. And maybe through that respect, you can find the desire to win. Another dimension of this is that you can't really play a beautiful game of Go without two players wanting to win. I think that search for beauty happens in that friction of two players really trying to win very intensely. I think the most memorable and most beautiful games that I've played in my life of Go were the ones where I could feel both sides were intensely struggling, where I was really, really racking my brain to find that Tsuji or calculate what I needed to do and maintain all the tension that I had. And I could also feel that my opponent was doing the exact same thing. I could feel, and there's a connection that Go players make when they play Go, and you can often really see through the stones to the other side into the soul of the other player. And if you've been playing Go for a while, I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. And that really only comes out if you're both intensely playing the game and wanting to win and put your all into it. Because if you just kind of lay back and you just plop those stones down, you don't really see that. And I think that's what happens when a very weak player plays a very strong player. The strong player can really see the weak player, right? They can look at the weak player and say, oh, I can see what you want, and I can see how you're feeling about this game. But the weak player will see like just fog, right? Because the strong player doesn't have to try that hard. They don't really care about winning. They know they're going to win. They don't have that intense desire to win. So all you see is this fog of like mastery, and you don't really get to see beyond the stones into the eyes or soul of the strong player. But when two people of relative even strength meet, and then they're both intensely wanting to win and making these crazy moves to try to throw each other off, I think they both see each other. And I think that is a worthwhile thing, to want to win just because of that. And I think that's kind of like the anime trope, where if you look at like the strong player of an anime, Akira Toya, for example, they get mad. They get mad when the other person doesn't try to win. Like when Hikaru plays against Akira and plays as himself rather than using Sai, Akira Toya gets mad. He says, "What are you doing?" Right? Because he can't see the person he saw before through that intense desire to win. He's like putting it all in the game. He's like, I'm ready. I'm showing up for you. I'm bearing myself to you. I'm exposing my heart to you. And you're giving me what? What is this? You're giving me kindergarten Go, right? And he's mad. He's like, I'm being vulnerable for you, and you're just playing games with me. And I feel like that's a thing. If you want to see each other as Go players, you really have to give it your all, and you have to try to win, and you have to really want to win. And what's going to happen is if you do this, in theory, because I'm not a competitive person. I'm not. I can have my competitive moments, but I'm not super competitive. When this happens, in theory, again, I'm trying to. This is something that I'm going to try to do in the future, is like really question like my desire to win. But I think what will happen is once I get to the point where I feel like I really want to win, and I'm able to keep that desire up for game after game, I'm going to run into people who are just throwing their games away. And I'm going to be mad. I'm going to be like, why are you throwing this game away? You could have done this, X, Y, Z. I know you don't know how to do this, but you could have at least done this. You're making all these bad decisions. And I feel like that's going to happen to me if I really amp up my desire to win. And they might shrug and go like, oh, well, it's just a game, right? And that really reminds me of a scene I've mentioned in my favorite Go book, The Master of Go. The train scene. There's a scene where the journalist, who's the author of the book, he's not he's just I think he's just a strong player who kind of grew up playing Go in Japan. And he meets a Westerner on the train, and the Westerner is terrible at Go, and he asks for a teaching game or something. And this contrast between the two is depicted in that scene, where the Japanese journalist is playing game after game because the Westerner is asking for them, but the Westerner is getting defeated. He's getting clobbered every single time. And he's just kind of like, oh well, I lost again. Oopsie doopsie. Let's play again. That was fun. And the journalist is kind of like, what's with this guy? He's not respecting this game. He's not like playing to his potential. How can you withstand such humiliation? Right? Like, it didn't sit well with him. So I think there's a bit of a, I think most of Western culture likes to emphasize, hey, this is just a game, relax, don't take it so seriously. It's just, and I see a lot of people really get down about their lack of improvement, about losing games, about not understanding things. And yeah, I think that is the message we should send to those players for sure. It's a hard game. It's a psychologically difficult game. And maybe we've all been there. Maybe we have been to that low point, and that's why as we develop as Go players, we eventually get to the point that says, I don't really care about who's winning or who's losing. In fact, in the Master of Go, one of the high masters is referred to of having a habit of meditating before every game and breathing in a way. And somebody asks him, what are you doing? And he says, I'm emptying myself of the desire to win. So, I feel like there are multiple stages in a Go player's life, career in Go, where you start off maybe with an intense desire to win, and you realize that's not going to happen, and you feel humbled, and then you kind of reel it back, and then you gain some confidence, and that desire comes back, and it goes back and forth. But a lot of mature Go players, I think, they kind of, I don't want to say roll over. Right? I think that's a little too intense, but maybe they've let go of a lot of themselves, right? A lot of the part of themselves that wanted to win before, you kind of parent and say, hey, you know what? You're not going to win every game. You're going to lose a lot of games. In fact, it's built into our culture. We tell people to get better at Go, lose your first 50 games, just lose, right? And there are reasons why we say that, and that's kind of repeated, and we hear that everywhere. But I think at a certain point, we have to also realize we need that flame. We need that flame, and that flame will carry us to victory. Not the kind of accidental victory that would have come anyway because you're just so good at Go. You've seen all these shapes before, and the other player just didn't know how to handle your moves. But the kind of victory that you've earned, the kind of victory that you were vulnerable for, right? One that you kind of opened up your heart and said, I'm going to give it my all this game. And because of that, you won, because you were able to conquer something that you might not have been able to conquer if you hadn't done that. So I want to just kind of leave you with a question, right? Who is the more disciplined, the more respectable player, right? The one who has rid themselves entirely of the desire to win and is unfazed whether they win or lose, or the one who nurtures their deep desire to win, and yet they're gracious when they win. They don't rub it in the face of their opponent, even though they're feeling the fire of winning, right? They have nurtured this fire to win, and they feel it so intensely. And when they win, it's like the most celebratory thing, right? Compared to the other player who is just kind of like, well, I won. Tuh, right? The one who has nurtured this fire and yet is able to be gracious to his opponent and says, I'm so happy right now. Congratulations. Thank you for this game, and shakes their hand, right? Or someone who has nurtured this fire so much that when it's extinguished, right, they feel the pain of losing to its full effect. And yet they're resilient. They know that they have another game ahead of them, and they're not put down forever. And they're sportsmanlike when they lose everything, when they've really felt vulnerable to feeling sad about losing. When they lose and they're still able to respect their opponent and say, congratulations, I'm happy that you won, and I'm happy that you played this game with me. I'll leave you with that question, and just also another, I guess, quote. I don't really know who said this. I've seen this a lot of places, but the fact that you can only be brave when you are afraid. I think, I don't know if it was like a Lord of the Rings or that was like a Game of Thrones thing or something. I don't know, but that quote always sticks with me, right? You can only be brave when you're afraid. So letting yourself wanting to win, I think, is a difficult thing to do for Go players, but perhaps something that is worth it. I would love to know your thoughts on this topic and whether you think that it's a good thing to make that flame larger, or you should quell that flame and play very balanced Go without emotion. I mentioned in the previous weeks that I've been playing Star Fox. I love Star Fox. I grew up playing Star Fox 64, but in preparation for this new Switch remake of it, I went back to the SNES version of Star Fox, and that game is brutal. It's like not only just the level design and everything, but the fact that the frame rate drops to like 6 FPS every now and then, while like there are like 20 projectiles aiming towards your ship, and you have to somehow dodge them with like 2 frames playing like every few seconds, right? It's just like insane. But something about those games back then versus now, like now we have so many checkpoints, right? We have so many like save points when you start playing a game, right? It doesn't matter if you fall and die. You go back 5 seconds. That's when you saved. It's kind of like that with this new one, although there are many worthwhile challenges. But that old one, the SNES one, oh man, that was intense for me because I was committed not to save scumming. And if you lost all your lives in that game, you would have to start everything all over again. And that really, really put an intense desire to win in my heart. Kid you not, because I'd be playing a run and I'd be like, it was so hard to get to this point, right? It was so hard to just stay alive and get my lasers and keep my wings and get to this point. If I die now, I'm going to have to go through all of that suffering again to get back to where I am here. So it's so intense. It's like, this is a difficult challenge, and I really got to clutch up here. I have to win this right now, or there are consequences. I feel like that was one way, like, it's funny because like your desire to live might really be a fear of dying, right? That might be the way to really increase your desire to win, to hate losing. Maybe that's another way to put it. Like Magnus Carlsen said, to just like, I never got better at losing, right? Because I am a terrible loser and I just hated losing. I think I've also heard people say like, oh yeah, like these like top players, they love winning, but they hate losing even more, right? So I don't know how to really phrase that or like frame that. Basically, like, how would you increase your desire to not lose? I don't know. I mean, you can only control your emotions and your desires to a certain extent. But I think it's worth reflecting on, and worth reflecting like, how much do I actually want to win? How much do I want to lose? And what does that do to me? And should I care more? I think by reflecting on that and asking yourself these questions, you might find the answer you're looking for. But now it's time for the DDK Advice Corner, and the tip of the day is own up to your mistakes during the game. So what I mean by this is, for example, let's say you have a game and you thought something was alive, like one of your groups. And so you're like, great, don't need to play there, I can Tanuki, right? And your opponent also Tanukis, and you kind of make it a quote-unquote agreement on the board that group is alive. Halfway through the game, you reanalyze the situation, and you smack your forehead and go, oh my goodness, this is actually dead. Or it's about to be if I don't save it. Just play the move to make it alive, right? Own up to your mistake. Don't delay, right? It could also be, something that you thought was dead already, and your opponent kind of treated it as if it was dead. Own up to that mistake. When you learn the truth of something, play according to that truth right away. You don't want to make the mistake of saying like, well, my opponent seems to think it's alive, so I'm just going to leave it alone. And then your opponent finds it first and then puts the move down and then kills you, right? You don't want to do that. Just own up to your mistake. I know it's embarrassing because you've been playing this whole time as if it was alive, but play that move and your opponent will be like, huh? Why did you? Oh. And it'll be better if you do. It'll be better if you just own up to the mistake, get embarrassed for a split second, and then keep your groove safe or what have you. Now it's time for listener mail. Martin shared something on the Starpoint Discord. Please join us if you'd like to look at it. But it's a meme that I mentioned in a couple episodes back, which is the meme of bell curve, and then you have on the left side of the bell curve, I leave Aji over the board. In the middle, no, you need to take care of all your weaknesses and leave no Aji anywhere, and that's where most of the people improving and in the middle stand. And then on the other side of the spectrum, where everybody is an expert, says I leave Aji all over the board. Again, thank you, Martin, for creating this. This is perfect, exactly what I had in my head. Solara comments on it, this is true and painful. So if you want to check that out, go and join the Discord community. It's also a great place to hang out and chill, find like-minded Go people and Starpoint listeners to connect with while Starpoint is on break. Martin also writes, I heard of a fun online Go tournament. You play against Katago. You will, of course, lose, but the amount of points you lose determines your score. That's a very interesting concept for a Go tournament. It's like a solo, like solitaire Go kind of thing, and everybody tries. It's like almost like an arcade game, right? You try to get the high score on like a little game that you play when the game is Kata Go. That sounds like a very fun and creative idea to host a tournament. Thank you for mentioning that, Martin. Tyrannoton says, 1 year membership. What a ride. So happy to be part of this. I went back and listened to episodes 1 and 2 yesterday, and wow, such a change in your performance. Not to say it was bad, but it was great, but I can feel how much more comfortable you have become. I can't wait for all the podcasts to come. Well, thank you, Tyrannoton, for supporting me for a whole year. That is amazing. I see that your little YouTube membership icon is changing colors rapidly. So I think you're the only one who has that cool icon. So thank you so much, Tyrannoton, and thank you for the message. I'm kind of like scared to listen to that episode 1 and 2. I don't even know what I sounded like back then, but it's been a while now, huh? It's been quite a journey. So I'm very glad that you're part of it, and thank you very much. I appreciate you. Sadaharu writes, I've seen Go in many shows, but not sci-fi. No matter what show it is, I do hope that they try to arrange the stones properly because they didn't make sense in a lot of the shows that I watched. I do like the scenario of humans versus aliens in a Go showdown. By the way, I realize that you talk much faster in this episode compared to others. I guess you must be really excited about sci-fi, huh? I noticed that too. I notice sometimes I do have a quite a faster pace of speaking especially when I get excited about something. I'll admit that I was very excited about talking about sci-fi. But yeah, I was going to comment on the noticing the stones. I mean, it's like a curse for us, right? We're going to want to see Go in media and stuff, but then when you see it, you're going to immediately notice that it's terribly arranged. It's just a curse of having certain specific knowledge, right? Like from the show that I watched today, I was commenting to my wife, like, because the doctor was checking someone's pulse, or I don't know if it was the doctor or the sheriff or whatever, but I was like, that's not the part of the neck you use to check someone's pulse, because I took CPR a long time ago, so I know where the carotid artery is, and they just kind of touched the back of their neck a little bit, and I was just like, that's not the spot. And she's like, it's a TV show. And I was like, okay, got it, it's a TV show. But it's like when you have special knowledge in certain things, like it'll have cracks. It'll show cracks through different shows that you watch. Anyway, thanks for writing in, Sadaharu. Timo Kawai comments, Go is in Blade Runner 2049. Can't believe I missed that one. forget, is that the newer Blade Runner or the classic one? I think I've seen the old one with Harrison Ford, and I don't remember any Go in that one. Maybe I just don't remember, but yeah, good one. That's definitely another sci-fi example. Thanks for writing in. Question of the summer. What would you rate your desire to win? How badly do you want to win or improve? Do you have that desire? Do you feel like you need more of it? Do you feel like it's worth bringing that out of yourself, or do you want to just kind of stuff it away in a corner and say, I don't want to win, I just want to play Go? If you want to share your thoughts on that question, or if you want to send me anything related to Go, leave a comment wherever you found this episode, or email me directly, email me directly at starpointpaduk@gmail.com. That's starpointbaduk@gmail.com. If you're a YouTube listener, I would greatly appreciate a like and a subscribe. If you're a podcast listener, reviews and ratings also help. A very special thank you to James B., Brandon S., Tristan, Jeff H., Tyrannaton, woohoo, 1 year, and Andrew P. for supporting Starpoint. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. If you want to support the show at any capacity, you can go to kofi.com/starpointpaduk, that's KO-FI, or come on over to the Starpoint store at store.starpointpaduk.com. And like I said, join the Discord. It's where a lot of Starpoint people hang out, and I often go in and check on what people are saying. Sometimes I comment and respond to you guys, so if you want to talk to me, talk about Go, and connect with other people, join the Discord. Now, to close the season off, again, I will see you guys in season 4, September 14th. I have the perfect idea to get the younger generations to play this game, right? Because who are we if we're just going to just age as old people and we're just going to play Go with old people? We need young people to play Go and be attracted to this game. So I've developed an opening, and the opening is to play the 6-7 point. Alrighty. I apologize for ending season 3 on that note, but thank you all again for listening. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Keep playing Go.